Chief Executive Officer of Barclays. Venkat, thank you for joining us. There's a lot going on. We were just looking at the news that Kriti was bringing to us about, of course, some of the attacks, the fact that we don't see any de-escalation for the moment in geopolitics. What does this all mean for how you expect markets to behave and so the impact on banks?
Yeah. I think it's one of the very tough questions. And I think if you look over the last 2 years, Francine, one of the things we've seen is whenever we sat here a year ago, 2 years ago, whoever sat here would have a view of how the year would pan out, and what happened was very different. We didn't expect the Ukraine war. We didn't expect the terrorist attacks, the awful terrorist attacks in Israel last year. We didn't expect the bank crisis. I think we should scenario plan, and I think it's going to be a bumpy year, but more than anything else, we've got to be resilient. We've got to be prepared to react to news.
What does this mean for Barclays? So you talked about $1 billion in structural savings. That was at your third quarter. You also have an investor update February 20th. What are you looking at?
So the most important thing in any bank, of course, you start with a platform of strong capital, which we have, strong liquidity, good risk management. And that risk management is to allow you to react to the way the world is changing. And then on top of that, you've got to run your businesses extremely well, manage your costs, so that you can deal with fluctuations in revenue and produce good returns to your shareholders and to your investors ultimately. And that's what our Investor Day is about, to tell people how we're going to do that.
So we can expect more than the $1 billion in structural saving? We can expect something. Is it going to be radical, or is it going to be steady as she goes?
Well, we're going to have to be more efficient, and that $1 billion in structural savings was one part of that. And as we continue to look at our businesses, we'll continue to strive for efficiency in cost, improvement in the quality and types of revenue, running the business well.
Venkat, what can you tell us about the investment bank? So again, you've been very attached to it. There's always questions about what happens to it at Barclays.
So I think the investment bank has been extraordinarily successful. We have had a strategy over a number of years to do investment banking and to do it well. And we are the leading investment bank domiciled outside the United States. And what I find in my travels, especially in the world, in the geopolitical world in which we live, is people are looking for a partner and a counterpart who's not just a US bank. And if they had to pick one, they tend to pick British banks, and we're a strong British bank, the only British bank really engaged in investment banking in its broadest sense. And part of it is picking London. And I'm very optimistic on London and the UK. London has been a global financial center for 300 years. We've been part of that for 300 years. And so I'm optimistic that both our clients value that, and it'll be good for UK.
You've gone through a rough patch, really. Barclays has, also because of the QIA selling off their stake. Again, do you see it getting easier and better ahead? And what kind of message do you want to give to shareholders?
Well, first of all, I think the valuation, the stock price today does not reflect the potential of our company and our capabilities. And that is the message I want to give, and I want to tell people how we're going to realize that potential.
And it's something they will listen again. Is it? I guess the question is how drastic right now do you need to be, or is it just an adjustment period that they need to see the results?
Well, certainly they need to see the results. I think more than anything else, these things are a bit of adjustment, a lot of hard work, a lot of persistence, and a lot of effort. And you have to sustain it.
Yeah, Venkat, there's a lot of questions about auto financing and regulators looking into that. How big a deal will this be for Barclays?
So we have said that we've been a very small fraction of the complaints, only about 3%, if I remember right, of the complaints. We got out of the auto finance business in 2019. And we were, even before that, a relatively smaller player in that business.
What do you get asked the most when you speak to big shareholders? I imagine you met some of them here in Davos. Do you know why the QIA actually sold off the stake?
Well, I'm not going to comment on individual shareholders.
Fair, yeah.
But I do think that they are asking the questions we aim to answer, which is, what do you think your financial return targets are? How do you look to achieve them? How do you manage to run this bank in a sustainable way? How are you managing through the period we have? And, our financial risk management, touch wood, has been fairly strong over a number of years.
But there are a number of questions also about the UK, right? The City of London, which you're bullish on.
Yes.
But do you think, we're in election year. There's a lot of questions on some of the offers that the City of London needs to put in place to really come up front. Are they doing the right things? Are you really confident that the UK will get better after this?
I do think the UK has been doing well. Growth has been not great, but it's not as great as the US or as strong as the US, but it's stronger than many other countries in the world. It has, as you know, an excellent foundation of talent, of capabilities, and which is why it's a global financial center. I also think the really important thing is that political risk in the UK is almost less than it's ever been in our living memories. The election, whenever it happens, is between two parties who are fairly similar in their economic programs and in the way they want to approach financial markets and the banks and the City of London. So this is not the Labour Party versus Margaret Thatcher from 1979, right? It's a very different election.
Venkat, what can you tell us about hiring, but also layoffs this year? Is it, there's bonus season coming up. How much are you focused on that?
Look, we always are in the market for very good talent. We try to hire people with a very long-term view. At the same time, you've been hearing a lot here about technology and productivity and efficiency, and we are looking to make the bank more efficient. So we will continue to manage our costs very carefully, and we will continue to try to find the right talent for the bank for today, for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years.